freeze time immediately after a gunshot to possess a guard and have him walk right in front of the
So cool.
Or chop someone's head off to put a spring razor trap on and then slide kick it into a group of enemies.
How have I not played this shit? And also, I will not,
And if you look right next to him, there's a pistol you'd typically loot for a few extra rounds. But if you don't take it, this happens.
Oh, that's so shiver. Holy fuck. Actual goosebumps. Yo, what's up? I've updated my drip yet again. Anyways, the game that spread like the plague by Manley Reviews. Let's see it. Pretty like naturally.
History, there are some games that are known through the quality of their franchises. There are some games that are known through their studio's pedigree. But every once in a while, there's a game.
Oh, sick drip. What is this quality we're watching? Yeah, sick drip. Sleek boots with fat soles and tall socks. That's the drip I rock.
Game that makes itself
respectable
known despite having none of these things. And in this case, this game not only saved an entire studio from going bankrupt, but became one of the most influential, highest selling
Arcane Studio, really?
Entire studio from going bankrupt.
Arcane Studio guys are the ones that made Redfall. If you want to know why Redfall's bad, check out my other 2 videos I reacted to.
But none of that takes away from the fact that this game was created by some of the most brilliant, passionate minds in the gaming industry, who not only gambled, but their entire studio on a game that challenged the very fundamentals of game design, but nailed it on their first try to create a title
overwhelmingly positive. Okay.
That has the gameplay.
Man, how do Arcane go from making a game like this to making the biggest fucking stinker ever?
That made grown-ass video essayists weep, which is even more impressive knowing that this game was this close to not even existing. Fair warning, I am about to give this game some serious head, with a pinch of teeth, because it's not perfect. But before we get into any of that, we first need to stop by the year 2012. The year is 2012, which is an absolute godlike era for gaming sequels, and a bit of a miss for African warlords. But even as someone as isolated
during 2012, I was too small to play sequels. I was only playing basically just Dota. I don't think I was playing literally anything else outside of Dota.
As Coney himself, whose only claim to fame at this point is just being the one glowing dot in Africa on the Black Ops 2 world map, would appreciate the magnitude of releases like Black Ops 2, Borderlands 2, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, Far Cry 3, Mass Effect 3, Diablo 3, and if you cheat a little bit and count just 1 month prior, fucking
Diablo 3 was made in 2012? Bro, what? I thought that game was like... Holy shit, man. It took him more than 10 years to make a sequel. Diablo 4 only came out this year, 2023, you know? That's fucking crazy.
You had the time and freedom to play whatever you want, and for better or worse, say whatever you want. Woo! Take that, you This is the last year of the 7th generation console.
That was the era of Xbox Live, guys.
And studios are busy prepping their grand finales for these systems. It's also the very same year that Arcane Studios, for whatever dumbass reason, thought it was a good move to release a brand new IP that no one's ever heard of, from a studio that hasn't released a video game since Y2K, at the very end of the year when gamers already have a negative balance in their checkings account from all the other games they've bought.
You know, typically you wanna, you know, make sure your game doesn't come out at the same time as all the other bangers.
All that to say, it's not the best idea to release a new IP. Sold 8 million copies. On the PC alone.
What the fuck?
In a time when consoles already dominated the majority of the market.
That is insane.
So given all of its circumstances, you're probably wondering how this is even possible.
Yeah,
The answer? Through unbridled rage and hate.
By the way, this editing is fucking phenomenal. Man, the production quality in these videos fucking slaps. Considering that this, like... yeah, insane.
And a lot of caffeine. Which conveniently brings us to this video's 3-month late sponsorship, Gamer Subs. The only officially endorsed gaming caffeinated beverage of ISIS. Cause it's the bomb! Okay, wait a minute, hold on. Before you skip ahead, trust me, I get it. I'm not actually here to sell you anything. Quite the opposite. See, a while back, Gamer Subs reached out to me in Discord and said like, hey, we'd love to do a sponsorship with you and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh yeah, don't even worry about selling the product. We just want you to give out free samples. Like, no shipping, credit card, none of that shit. I could lecture you about all the great nootropics they put into it, or the caffeine blend, or the ones without caffeine, or
but you're not doing it, okay.
all the great flavors, but look, I get it. You don't want to hear how good something tastes for some random ass balling.
And yeah, we're watching a sponsor segment because that's how We fucking pay back for the content I'm stealing. Well, I'm not stealing. I'm not stealing content. What?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you anyway, because as someone whose diet mainly consists of Gatorade, Skittles, and Captain Crunch, I can confidently say that after blowing through $300 of the stuff that they sent me, it tastes delicious.
Don't eat that. Yeah.
You don't have to take my word for it. Just try it yourself. It's free. On a more serious note, I actually really do like the brand. They're creator owned, and the people who make it are the same people that consume it. They absolutely believe in their product, and I have nothing but nice things.
Gamers? Sweaty gamers? It's made by sweaty gamers? Well, you know you can trust them, because everything that comes out of their mouths is...
Because they are paying me. And if you actually want to buy something, you can use code Manley to save 10% off at the checkout. Anyways, Gamer Subs, great brand, free samples, absolutely demolish that link in the description, and thanks for watching. Now back on to the
I actually really like this stuff, and I still have them send me stuff every month.
Video.
Here we go. You go.
Going back to Dishonored, how on earth did this game somehow manage to rise above everything else that was coming out at the time? Well, it all starts with one guy. Meet Harvey Smith.
That looks like the fucking fake Mr. Beast channel. What's his name? Yeah, Matthew Beam. I'm fucking done.
This guy's got
my
Cheeto
God,
dust for
oh
fingerprints,
no.
and his blood type is Mountain Dew Code Red. He's the gangster behind games like Deus Ex, Thief, and even tinkered around on System Shock. He's the type of guy that in his spare time working at a game studio would create one of his own about like tanks and dinosaurs simply because he thought velociraptors and explosions were cool.
Yeah,
give this guy more time
it's
and
almost
monster
Gamescom about.
trucks and not women's rights. You get the point, he's a gamer. But he's got a problem. See, he's not pitching his games to gamers. He instead has to pitch them to panels of all these suits and business McCuckshits.
And those guys are stupid as fuck. They do not understand the concepts of shit being cool.
That's not a football. Do you really think gamers are gonna be interested in explosions and dinosaurs? I'm retarded. These companies are clueless about what gamers really want. Instead, they're focused on pumping out
it's not like Ark sold. I mean, Ark was like a bit of a flop. I don't know a single person that actually played the game. So.
Sports garbage that Smith is forced to work on, and it's driving him nuts. To the point where he's routinely sending out emails detailing hundreds of issues and improvements to the slop that he's working on, like he's some RGB Martin Luther, begging his bosses to push back on their impossible deadlines, just because he wants to make a better
Well, yeah, for sure. I bet that's how most devs have it, to be honest.
Throughout most of his career, he's bouncing from studio to studio to find that they're all equally apathetic. For every studio he leaves behind, he's instead picking up some serious resentment. And it turns out, he's not alone. Meet Colantonio, a good friend of Smith's and ex-
Oh, do they end up teaming up? Like the fucking, a bunch of dropouts, like game studio dropouts teaming up into the fucking like, that's cool as shit.
From that shitty studio they were working on like a decade ago, who since split to create one of his own called Arcane. Which, little known fact, is the very same studio that did some of the animation, art, level design, and backend for games like Call of Duty, BioShock 2, and even Half-Life. And guess what? They're going through the same exact shit with publishers. Arcane's working out some bonkers shit with Steven Spielberg and Half-Life, and many others, only to have all of it fall through. Why is that? Because
Bethesda! I mean, who's publishing their games? Bethesda, right? So whose fault is it? Is it that their deadlines are way the fuck overtuned or undertuned, I guess? Bethesda. Because, I mean, if these guys were given the time and budget, they've shown that they can make a good game, right? With Dishonored. So, you know.
Companies at the time are writing bass-ackwards deals for both parties that always fall through. It's getting so bad that after a decade of developing code destined for the recycling bin, Arcane's about to go completely under, despite having some amazing talent in the industry. Colantonio is rightfully losing his shit, and so is Smith. And I guess misery loves company, because while Smith is looking for work, they decide to meet up. While they're in the car venting to each other back and forth, Colantonio just happens to bring up that, hey, you make good stuff, I make good stuff, wouldn't it be crazy if we worked together? Smith kind of lightly brushes it off and says like, yeah, that'd be cool, but he's looking for a real job right now. So Colantonio, currently captain of his
that's such a fucking roast. Bro.
sinking studio says, F it, and looks at Smith and says, I will literally make you co-owner right now of Arcane Studios if you and I agree to work together to create a game so magnificent, publishers can't ignore it. And with Smith having nothing really to lose, says, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
This district is now considered a highly infected area.
Like schoolgirls kicking their legs in the bed, they start throwing out ideas like first person.
Man, I can't stop seeing the fucking fake Mr. Beast guy. It's the same person.
Ninja assassins, magical powers, British settings without the British accents, only to say, fuck it, let's do it all together. And they start preparing this thing called the Ninja Pitch. Only thing is, they need money. Like yesterday.
I need more honor.
Yes.
So Arcane sets off looking for busy work for other developers to buy them some time to develop this thing when
Yes.
they catch the eye of Bethesda, who's shopping around to buy up all these little studios. Smith and Tony are over here groaning, thinking it's going to be another lawyer fest, and for good reason. Bethesda is a huge titan of industry. But when they click on the email, it's not filled with the traditional contracts and business speak, and instead, they're invited out to lunch with none other than Todd Howard.
Hey, the Bethesda dude. It's the Bethesda dude. That's how they came to Bethesda. Okay, now we know. We're getting some context. Now, Todd Howard, all right.
Chess Club Todd Howard.
I'm gonna make video games and everyone's gonna play them. Like, you dork.
So the guy from the this is what he used to represent, just so you know.
Back to the chess club. Who's laughing now?
And then Fallout 76 was released, and then Redfall came out, and look where we are now.
Yes, I was in the chess club.
The three of them hit it off. Todd's blown away by all the projects they've been working on, and turns out he's just as nerdy about all this shit as they are. They sell to Bethesda, all while still developing their Ninja Pitch on the back burner. And a year later, Todd comes back to these guys, practically drunk off the amount of money he knows he's gonna rake in with Skyrim, and floats them an idea. Hey Smith, all of our studios are busy right now. We had this idea about a Japanese samurai ninja game called Dishonored. I don't know, it could be something. What do you think? I like the name, but what if we did something a little bit different where we had like magical abilities and like you're a ninja and like in like British times there's a plague going around, it's like the 1800s and you can like
Harvey.
troop around with like a sword.
Harvey, you're scaring the hose. But I like the idea.
Here's 25 million. For the first time in Arcane's history, everyone's working on the same project. They got the boy Antonov, who designed the city in Half-Life 2, not just doing the history, everyone's working on the same project. They got the
Yeah, you know, that's the look of a guy that does
who designed
shit.
the city in Half-Life 2, not just doing the level design, but also the whole visuals as well. They've even divided the workload between the consoles and PC people, so that only the people who play on their preferred platform develop that.
That is super smart. That is super smart. I hate when games that are clearly built for console and play like console games are played on PC or even worse, mobile. Yeah, he fucking put a LOL on the phone for sure. Good idea, bro. PC ports of mobile games are the goofiest shit in the world.
Version of the game. Holy shit, that actually makes sense. They're crunching away like mad, making their studios magnum opus.
It's almost as if that's what you should do. Like, right? Wow, following good studio practice or game dev practice, I suppose.
Smith makes a rather
crazy
odd discovery and finds out that you can actually beat the game without killing any of the guards, aside from the assassination targets. He gets the idea, what if you could beat the entire game without killing anybody to get a completely different ending? The team is a bit befuddled by this because they're already halfway through development and this is going to change everything in the game. So Smith just straight up says, give me one afternoon and I'll call you guys back.
Get out, I need to go to my mind palace.
The what?
He calls him back, and he brings out a whole list of ideas for, instead of assassinating targets, you could instead lock them in prison or strip them of their power. I don't know, kink shame them or something. And immediately they all start brainstorming. They come up with all these creative ideas like having the game's in-game religion.
To go through with a change like that halfway through development, by the way, pretty brave, all things considered. I mean, clearly it paid off, but again, as you're doing that shit, you have no idea if it's gonna be a good idea, especially now that you're gonna have to spend a bunch of money basically disassembling parts of the code and game you've already made.
Having this heretic brand where instead of you just killing the guy 1,000 different ways, you instead slap on some griddle marks that permanently marks him as an outcast. And then you take this rich fucker and instead put him in one of his own mines to work alongside his indentured servitudes with his tongue cut out. The list goes on, and now the game's taken a completely new shape where the players choose how they want to experience the game with a world that dynamically reacts to the playstyle of their choosing. They've got another problem though, and it's the
is that how the choose your own adventure games came about? Huh.
very same
cool,
one they had
awesome.
at both of the start of their careers. How on earth are they going to pitch their game? But this time, it's a little bit different, because for the first time in their careers, they get to pitch their game directly to gamers. And they know exactly what they want to see. So they take
so instead of having to pitch to stupid ass people who are trying to get you funding, you already have the funding, so all you need to do is make sure the game gets sold. Fucking awesome, man.
Good for them. Budget and dedicated to one of the coldest trailers I've ever.
That's why Kickstarting is cool. Like, despite the fact that there's lots of shit that's wrong with Kickstarters, yeah.
What they want.
No, I don't want to go into Kickstarters. This is not that kind of video. I do not have the time to talk about Kickstarters for 3 hours right now, but What I will say is, the nice part about them is that you're pitching the game straight to people who are gonna buy it eventually once it comes out, assuming you actually make the game and aren't trying to scam them.
Want to see.
And it skips the step. And then after you've made one game, you can make a sequel with the funding you've already gotten from the previous game. You know, it's a snowball effect so long as you keep making bangers. Hollow Knight, probably Silk Song, that's what we were all hoping for.
So they take every last dollar in their budget and dedicate it to one of the coldest trailers I've ever seen in a game.
That's
Come
fucking
time for
cool.
E3, they ditch the trailer and just want to show gameplay of it set to some cryptic-ass lullaby, and it ends up just winning a shit ton of awards. Just because it looks cool. But
That's scary.
all par for the
Yeah, the fact that people are seeing... Trailers suck. Cinematic trailers suck. Like, bit of a hot take, but I honestly think that I would much rather see gameplay any day of the week. Bro, when I was watching the PS5 were doing like a new games showcase kind of thing, what's coming out soon. One of the trailers they showed was for the new Spider-Man, where you play as a black Spider-Man, like not the black dude Spider-Man, but like black, like the black sludge. You know what I mean? The first like 3 minutes of the trailer or whatever, I was bored out of my fucking asshole. I was just looking at it like, I couldn't give less of a shit. But then they showed the gameplay and I'm like, damn, this game actually looks good. What were you doing having me bored out my fucking ass for the first 3 minutes? Why did you go out of your way to spend so much money and budget to make something that looks boring as shit? That literally made me not want to get this new Spider-Man game. I'll be honest. I decided to skip through the thing later, and I was like, holy fuck, the gameplay looks so good. Because I clicked off after seeing the boring-ass start, and I was not going to buy the game. The only reason I heard about it is because I saw, like, the later part of the trailer where they actually showed gameplay. Why couldn't they have done it from the start? No, I 100% get this. I think this is... Show your gameplay in the games. That's what we want to fucking see.
Of course, and they know it. They've got a unique lore-rich world, and Todd and the gang all want to show it off. Todd knows a studio by the name of PSYOP, and they commission a 3-part web series that goes just as hard as the name of the studio. But instead of focusing on the game, they instead draw people into the natural intrigue of their world, like how the overnight discovery of whale oil sparked a new age of crude industry, weaponry, and villainy, or the dangers of making deals with the game's supernatural, or how Corvo's iconic mask came to be. They also made that mobile game from earlier. I guess they had a little bit more money in the budget. I don't know. Cute idea, but thanks to all its marketing, the game absolutely shatters Bethesda's sales expectations. And they're completely stun-locked by the numbers. So much so that they never bothered to release any of them. I can't tell you how many hours I spent trying to find a single figure for how well this game sold. I could only find the PC sales.
All we know is that, yeah, 8 million PC sales and exceeded expectations.
So what is so goddamn
tell us anything, because, I mean, we already kind of knew that.
Special about this game? Well, it all starts on the way they mixed up the stuff. Not all.
Does this game have a shit-ass stealth system where it's just like people seeing shit in a cone and then you stand still for a minute? Must have been the wind. Or is it a good kind of system?
Stealth games are created equally.
Yeah, no, 100%. Usually it's not stealth games. It's games that have boring ass, completely unneeded, unnecessary, please let me skip this stupid segment of the game kind of stealth segments.
They all seem to suffer from one fundamental flaw, and that is stealth games at their core can be kind of boring.
Yeah,
in a lot of these games, the cost of remaining undetected has been traditionally paid in time, where you just have to plant your ass down behind a barrier while a guard sort of stares in one direction and wait like 2 minutes until he turns around before you can move.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
better hope you don't accidentally make a noise, alert the guard, and have to restart the whole process over again.
What was that noise?
Don't get me wrong, it can be a great way to build tension throughout a game, and it has its moments, of course. But usually the best parts of stealth games are when they stop being stealth games. But Dissondered asks the question, what if instead of paying time for stealth, you instead pay in skills? Why wait for enemies to turn their back on you? You can just teleport past them, or stop time altogether, or possess them, or do all three at once.
Fuck, that's such a cool idea.
God, yet still floods you with moments of tension in this world that's still selling comic
A stealth game with superpowers and actually done well. That's crazy.
books to this day, in no small part due to its story. The game starts off by putting you in the boots of Corvo Attano, who's currently the royal protector to the Queen of Dunwall, who presides over this recently industrialized Victorian-era city. You've returned on a journey from these foreign regions, seeking aid against the plague that's currently taking over Dunwall, only to find out that we're being quarantined in response, and it's our job to deliver the news to the Queen. As soon as this guy
Okay, I'm glad he addressed
that
this.
we're being quarantined in response, and it's our job to deliver the news to the Queen. as soon as this guy gets off the boat. Hasn't got his land legs or something. On our way to the Empress, we can mingle about with a few key heads of state. We get to meet with the Princess Emily, the city's religious leader, the royal scientist, and my personal favorite, which is the ever-trustworthy royal spy master.
Corvo, 2 days early, full of surprise.
But before the Queen can even give us a hand job for all of our efforts, all of a sudden, black magic assassins show up out of nowhere to take out the Queen.
No! That's so unlucky.
Shit. To drive them back.
Emily, get behind me!
Your ultimate.
That's an actual.
Queen. Despite
That's so good. Holy shit, let's see that again.
Hand job for all of our efforts, all of a sudden, black magic assassins show up out of nowhere to take out the Queen. Despite your best efforts to drive them back,
Emily, get behind me!
you're ultimately bested in combat by the color green, as the leader of the tribe, Dowd, personally takes the life of the Empress, leaving her to die in your arms before vanishing, leaving you as the
So does that cutscene trigger if you killed the Empress?
Witness of what truly transpired, as well as the primary suspect, and subsequently dishonored.
Yeah, so it's normally that distorted. Okay, cool.
Yes, he's killed the Empress.
You know, I thought they might be framing this guy, but...
Dishonored.
Yes, he's killed the Empress.
You know, I thought they might be framing this guy, but seeing the spy master look over both his shoulders like a fucking Scooby-Doo villain was very reassuring.
That's it. That's what you got from me. Hope you die.
6 months later, we're rotting in a prison cell, tortured by the monologuing hands that framed us, as they reveal that it's been their plan all along to use us as a stepping stone to claim the throne of Dunwall. It's the day before your public execution, when all of a sudden, a group of loyalists slip you a small care package in the form of Britain's finest culinary. Once
oh my god.
you're out, you'll instinctively grab the sword right in front of you, but the game hints that you should think twice about using it, as you overhear the guards talking about how much they've missed the late Empress and their families. These aren't the ones who imprisoned you. They're the innocent bystanders.
Oh, I see. And most players just ignore them and kill them.
To the
Am I right?
Care.
I am fucking. I'm always right. I'm always right. Please. Applaud. Applaud. I am always.
With the doors blown wide open and every pistol trained on our backside, we dive into the sewers where we reunite with our CSGO-looking sword and begin our escape. However, once again, we're blocked off by guards who, if you listen in, are terrified at the very thought of coming into contact with us. But this time, we're equipped with a tranquilizer dart, meaning we don't have to mindlessly kill every single pedestrian. Damn, that's crazy. After our journey through the rest of the sewers, we finally emerge to link up with our ticket off the island, which serves as our first point of contact with the Loyalists, and arguably one of our greatest allies. Our new humble friend Sam begins to ferry us out to the good guy headquarters, known as the Hound Pit.
He even spent time to make sure the lighting fucking matches on his green screening. Man, that's so much work. Jesus Christ, this is like the... This guy... This is so high quality, man. That's a crazy video.
The world outside. The place is a dilapidated bar on the outskirts of this abandoned riverside town, which not only serves as the crumbling facade towards the game's growing rebellion, but also acts as this fully explorable hub world between the missions, which almost feels like they originally planned this to be a level within its own right. But in actuality, it's really the devs foreshadowing a future conflict here, with all the subtlety of a car bomb. Once landed, we make our way inside and meet up with the Loyalists, who are all made up of influential individuals from all over the Isle. And this is where we begin to hatch our master plan to save Emily and take back the throne, when things take a bit of a left turn. Since the very first mission of the game is at night, Corvo pops an Ambien to catch a few Z's to get himself ready, and while he's assed out in bed, we find ourselves in this void-like world that exists outside of time and space. During our visit, we're greeted by the realm's only inhabitant, who looks like he listens to a little bit too much Breaking Benjamin, known as the Outsider, who takes a peculiar interest in the player character, granting us with a sick new tribal and a bunch of magical powers just to stir things up a bit. And I have to give the game credit.
And that's when the real game starts. Yeah, that's so fucking cool.
As video gamey as it is to be like the chosen one character, this is unironically the most biblically accurate representation of a god I've seen in media. The Outsider gives us no ultimatums, no cheesy ass fetch quests, and is instead just content to sit back and watch us alter the course of history.
That is so cool.
However that may look depending on our playstyle. We're just entertainment to him.
I find you fascinating, Corvo. And I've seen men turn themselves into pickles. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
There's no way.
And I've seen men turn themselves into pickles. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
And that's basically it. The story in this game, just like most other Bethesda published games, is not great. As far as the main plot's concerned.
Oh really? Fuck. I thought it was great so far. Shit. Oh man, that's sad. Ah fuck. Well, good intro at least, hey.
Other Bethesda published games is not great. As far as the main plot's concerned, aside from the third act backstabbing twist that everyone saw a mile away, the plot is pretty Mario coded, where you just set off to kill bad guys to rescue a princess and save the city. Not exactly the most groundbreaking material here, and it doesn't help that the game has 3 alternate endings that all have the narrative complexity of a traffic light. But just like every other Bethesda published game,
you kill no one, you're good. You kill only the super bad guys, you're alright. You kill nobody, you're the best. You kill everybody, you're a bad person. Alright, well, hey, at least the intro is fucking bussin', banging. So as you mentioned, you know, the depiction of a god character, I think honestly, lots of books and media in general do that shit really good. But it's just specifically, for some reason, poorly done in games. I don't know why that is, but games just like doing a horrible job at making god characters these fucking people that try to be super nice to her. Like that's not how it was depicted in the Bible. You would
allowed to suck, because that's not the real story, and they did that on purpose. The developers didn't want to bog the player down in text and deliberately chose to reduce as much friction as possible between you and just playing the game. So they instead elected to tell the real story of the game throughout its world.
I'm not religious, if you couldn't tell.
I love nothing more than when a video game takes advantage of its
I love the sound of the hi-hat when it's not locked.
Medium to immerse you into a story on the strict condition that it doesn't tell it to me. Throw paragraphs of text at me and I don't care how interesting the game is, I will button mash through all of it on instinct. But put a little bit of...
And also, I will not,
text on a wall or put a diary just out of reach of my peripheral vision, and I will eat that shit up like gum under the table. But only if I'm interested in the world I'm in. And few worlds are as interesting as Dishonored's. What makes me say that? Post-apocalyptic worlds,
I get it. Great world building, dog shit story. We've seen it a billion times.
Always generate curiosity in the same way crime scenes transform the most mundane details to take on a whole new meaning. The developers intentionally set out to create a gruesome, politically incorrect world that extends far beyond the physical boundaries of the levels. Pair this up with Dishonored's impressionistic art style, and every single frame of this game paints a picture of a much darker reality than a simple assassination and kidnapping. Within minutes of the first mission of the game, you see dozens of infected bodies lining the streets, and the ones that are still walking are bleeding out of their eyes, attacking anything on sight. You'll see buildings barely standing. You'll meet past nobility turned to witchcraft, feuding with the local mafia. You'll hear loudspeakers treating its citizens like criminals, and even
I saw this shit in Crash, I don't know, a bunch of Crash games. That's such a cool concept, man. It's so good to see these fucking loudspeakers like that. And that shit, like propaganda speakers is what they're called in Call of the Lamb.
Citizens like criminals.
That shit goes hard.
And even commenting on your actions throughout the game. You might even be able to find the guy making the announcements later in the game if you look hard enough. Maybe even take down what.
That's fucking awesome.
Throughout the game, you might even be able to find the guy making the announcements later.
What was the text?
In the game.
Oh, it's just like the top right.
Maybe even take down one of your assassination targets with it.
Played on this amplifier. He'll be ruined.
Attention Dunwall citizens. I want to bang the Animal Crossing dog so goddamn bad. I cannot stand it anymore. I've seen literally every rule, 34 posts there is.
Yes, you can shoot them down. Bro, I was gonna mention that it would be cool as shit if you could shoot them down just like in the Crash games. You can. That's so good. I don't know why. It's just speakers that spew bullshit that you can shoot down. That goes hard. Obviously, yes. Funny fucking dog.
This is.
I was gonna say that sounds AI generated. Hey, I have the same iPad.
Anything, but Carrie Fisher from Star Wars actually played one of the voices for the speakers. Kind of cool. Amongst the rubble, you'll find abandoned shelters, smugglers, shrines, other assassins like yourself bearing the same mark as you. Every room in this game is a potential puzzle piece to a much larger story that's still selling books to this very day. Keep looking and you'll see exotic otherworldly whales being shipped around, harvested for their oil as all their machinery
fucking cool.
In the Empire.
Ooh, I want to see that shit.
And you'll see exotic otherworldly whales.
This is exactly the kind of world building I wanted in a game. Oh. Wow, I want to play this game so bad.
Oil, as all their machinery in the Empire runs off this increasingly rare and highly volatile whale cum. You'll have a religion that's trying to fight off a by creating one of their own. You'll hear mention of far-off lands, home to even stranger creatures. And the best part is, unlike exactly what I'm doing now, the game leaves all of this to player discovery as you worm your way through its inner workings to piece it all together. If that's what you want to do. If you don't, you can just speedrun the whole thing in like 2 hours. Which is also fun as fuck. The game doesn't want to
and it has a portal, it has a teleport that teleports your direction, your arm says you go
tell you about its world and how it works. It wants you to experience it and see it firsthand, to put the pieces together yourself.
So it's got the storytelling elements of a Souls game, right?
Which
it delivers them in the same way. I don't know. Souls-like storytelling is what I'll call it, even though I don't think that's a very apt description.
More often than not, usually leads you to more discoveries that can actually help you.
I love games that do that. I mean, in fact, most games that have plot or lore in them, the ones like give a shit mostly about, are all ones that make the plot like see it for yourself and learn for yourself. Not the kind where they just give you a line of text and like, okay, well that's it, and you're like, okay, cool, now I know that it's it.
In the game. For example, in the very beginning of the game, you're given a door with some rats behind it, and you can very obviously mantle above it and just climb through. But while you're making your way over, you'll actually overhear 2 guards mentioning your escape below. Fun fact, if you've killed anyone, they'll actually bring that up too. But if you keep watching and look down below, they'll actually get interrupted, and this happens. Pause.
Yep, that's 2 guys just getting killed by a bunch of rats.
Did you catch it? The game just did something very smart. And while it's pretty obvious here, this happens hundreds of times over the course of the game. 1, by naturally letting you jump up and sneak past, it feels like you're the one choosing the path, which completely masks the fact that this is technically a scripted sequence.
Oh yeah, no, it is A, a scripted sequence, and B, it is a extremely linear path.
It feels like you are witnessing an event instead of arresting the controls from the player and being cheaply served one.
Yeah, this is what a cutscene should be. This, instead of making them fucking out of game, like, no, you know, not default game visual. Oh, I just realized these not very massive socks. These are just fucking drippy ass pants. Oh, I want trousers that look like that. Holy shit. Bro, what are these dripsters you're wearing? First.
It feels like you are witnessing an event instead of arresting the controls from the door.
Yeah, as I talk about, yeah, this, instead of doing these fucking pre-rendered cutscenes that use possibly different visuals, maybe the same, and just, you know, have arrest controls as he pointed out. I just don't like that. I think it doesn't go nearly as hard as having shit happen actually in game, because you are still you, rather than, like, it goes from being a movie to you experiencing the game from the first person, or rather the other way around. You're playing the game as the character and you are the character while you're playing him, and then suddenly it takes you into a fucking movie, and like, I am nowhere near as immersed when I'm watching it as a story told from someone rather than in a first person perspective, if that makes sense, even if the camera angle remains the same, you know what I mean?
Rats. But your enemies are also just,
and they don't force you to look at that shit. Like, that's cool to look at, but they're not forcing you. So if you want to speedrun the game, you're gonna do it, and it's not gonna be annoying to see the cutscene every time.
Just as vulnerable to the things that you are. 3, while it may not be obvious to you in your first playthrough, the game foreshadows that your actions result in some form of immediate consequences on your surroundings. As the
For
guards and
example,
loudspeakers
destructible physics objects. Love when games do that. That 100%. Maybe even add rewards. Give you some fucking currency for breaking shit.
Comment on the amount of violence you used in your escape.
Don't care.
Responsible for the murder.
This is just one of the little organic things that can be completely skipped if you just want to breeze by it all. But by letting the world tell the story in the absence of pushing forced walking sequences on your face, it instead pulls back, enticing the player to lean into the world they've created. The whole setting just feels like a car crash you can't look away from. I'll never forget the small moments, like when I found one of my old assassination targets that I spared wind up with the plague in a later level that you just could have easily missed. Or the time I was just mousing around and when I was looking at a conversation in the distance, I happened to almost miss a train car dumping 100 bodies right in front of me.
That's so fucking cool. And like, you usually don't miss it because it's framed in a way where like it is intentionally done to, there's like elements to bring your attention to what's going on, so you're not supposed to miss. Also, you're not supposed to miss all this shit, all the cool stuff, but you technically can. And that's what makes it crazy when you actually see it, because it is the world just going about it, existing, even though it's technically supposed to happen only when you're there. But it creates the illusion of the world just being alive and existing and doing these things all the time. And you only see it when you get there. And like that, you know what I mean? Like, to you. You just ended up being at the right place and the right time to see this event that you otherwise would have missed.
And while this may come off as just a cool goosebump moment, it's actually the game trying to get your attention onto the train car because maybe you can ride it into the next.
And that as well. That's fucking crazy. That's that insanely good game design. Insanely good game design.
Sure enough, you can. There's even a segment where the only survivor of a gang of henchmen warns of some horrid witchcraft up ahead that left him wounded. And if you look right next to him, there's a pistol you'd typically loot for a few extra rounds. But if you don't take it, this happens.
Oh, that's a shiver. Holy fuck. Oh, that's insane.
That is how you tell a story in a game!
Yes. Oh my god. Actual goosebumps.
Had the game just game-ended himself in a little cutscene, it would have robbed you from that moment where I literally whipped my head around in a cutscene to see what just happened. But what's most impressive here outside of just the world building is how consistent it all is. A famous writer once said, good worlds don't need to be realistic, they just need to be consistent. Take the tall boy guards, for example. The good worlds don't need to be realistic, they just need to be consistent.
I probably heard that on a YouTube video or something. That's where most of my knowledge comes in as well.
Take the tall boy guards, for example.
Probably why I'm so fucking stupid.
Inspired from London's stilt-wearing lamplighters, who are now in the
and they look so
game
cool.
with mechanical legs to walk above the plague-ridden masses so they can incinerate.
That is so fucking badass.
Or take the
holy shit, how have I never seen any of this? I've been in the fucking gaming world for a while. Well, since ever getting a computer, you know, like 10 or whatever. How have I never seen this?
The game's religion, which is there to protect and dissuade common folk from dabbling in the dark arts. That
8 even, or 6, I don't know. I play Plants vs. Zombies at 5.
Clerics strapped with strange musical boxes
probably
that disrupt your connection to the void through their sound waves.
No, what is this? It's kind of catchy though.
All of the elements in the game come together to give ludonarrative harmony. A fancy dork-ass word to describe how the gameplay and the world building.
Okay, this is the opposite of ludonarrative dissonance. Got it.
Reinforce its legitimacy.
Did he make that up? Either way, it works.
Even the mana and health elixirs you find all over the world would normally just be video gamey pickups, but are actually two competing medicines for warding off the plague, made by rivaling scientists that you can actually interact with in the game. Or take the bone charms and runes you use for upgrading your magical powers, which are all religious trinkets you would reasonably find in some of these specific spots around the world. All these elements make you feel.
I love when the loot you pick up feels like it's not just arbitrarily placed somewhere, but has actual purpose for being where you find it. That adds so much to the immersion. Games should do that more often.
Less like a main character and more like a visitor in a world that's existed long before your involvement.
Yeah.
That's before even
but with a bit of an assistance from an unbiased god,
how this
which is just so cool.
Game actively responds to your playstyle as we get into the. The actual mechanics of Dishonored can basically be described as a first-person, stealth, parkour, sword-fighting game with cheat engine enabled. Your only goal is to infiltrate the map, go from point A to point B, and take out your assassination target before exfilling. And to do this, the game gives you 2 fistfuls worth of gizmos and knickknacks to carry this out however you see fit. For starters, your right hand is used solely to wield the sick-as-fuck retractable sword blade, which you see fit. For starters, your right hand is used solely to wield the sick-as-fuck retractable sword blade, which is used not only to swing, but also parry, slice, stab, execute, and absolutely obliterate any chance of you seeing the good ending of this game, thanks in no part to the chaos system. See,
oh my god, this game looks
unlike
good.
Most games with multiple endings where you're not presented with the consequences of your actions until the end, Dishonored immediately lets the world react to your overall body count on a per-level basis. The more people you kill, including the actual assassination targets, the more the world adjusts negatively. With a high chaos, the guards.
Wait, let's see this again.
Including the actual assassination targets, the more the world adjusts.
So with low chaos, that guy is what, in criminal offense, whereas on the other one he is oh yeah, wanted for the murder, right? Yeah, so on one of them, so if you get the good ending, then they're just like requesting to find a criminal. And the other one, bro's wanted for murder, and he's like a fucked up dude.
Negatively. With a high chaos, the guards will.
And I'm not talking about the specific example, you know, I'm just like seeing to see like what he means. Obviously, like, yeah, you guys can read as well, no shit. My point with reading this is that like, this obviously doesn't happen just once, you know? He just showed an example, and it's not like just being good means shit is good and being bad means shit is bad, although that's probably how it's reflected, but it's made it, you know, that's how it's portrayed, but it makes you feel like that's not the case.
Better weaponry and in greater numbers.
Like, do you kill the bad guy? Do you kill the assassination target if he's a piece of shit? But maybe you're trying to save everyone, you know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of shit that you think through while you're playing the game, but at the end of the day, you go for the route that you want to take to get the good or the bad ending.
Creepers will take over.
And you either kill everyone or you kill them.
Otherwise be vacant. The number of rat swarms will increase. A majority.
Oh, I'm glad he's doing more comparisons. Okay, because just posters ain't enough for me.
Weepers will take over areas that would otherwise be vacant. The number of rat swarms will increase. A majority of the dialogue and in-game events will completely change and even affect the graphics on the final level. I think it's an awesome idea to incentivize going the extra mile to stay undetected and mouse around the brilliant level design. At least that's what I would say if this also was in the very same game that lets you freeze time immediately after a gunshot to possess a guard and have him walk right in front of the bullet.
What the fuck? That's so cool.
Or chop someone's head off to put a spring razor trap on it and then slide kick it into a group of enemies. Or juggle explosives in the air and time all of your shots to wipe out an entire crew of people within seconds while remaining completely undetected. You can platform off the bodies. You can do whatever that was. You can possess guards to just walk them off a bridge.
Oh my god!
New York City rats out of nowhere. The game gives you a whole ass thunder gun. And for all you Siege players out there, you can even use wall hacks.
How have I not played this shit?
Bethesda even included another one of their abusable autosaves, so you can just fuck around with anything you want with no consequence. The combat in this game is insane. Probably one of the best first-person sword.
And I love this. I love that it fits with the gameplay, right? Having the autosave where you could just like kind of just hit a button and you're instantly back to where you were a second ago. It doesn't work in some games where the stakes are high and like you're supposed to be slow-paced and stressed. In a game like this, though, that goes hard.
I've ever
That's
played.
Exactly what you want.
Why the fuck is it getting mad at me whenever I use any of it? For a game that has 11 out of its 16 abilities used
Oh no! No! The issues!
solely for lethal combat, it sure gets real preachy about using any of it. If you kill just over 20% of the people on a level, you're at risk of throwing away the good ending and all of the positive dialogue.
Oh, right, I see what he means. Yeah, okay, no. No, that's nothing to be mad about. Okay, well, it is partially, but I see what he means, yeah. They add a bunch of cool features that are all about being a brutal piece of shit, and it's great. But in case you don't want to do that, you're gonna have to play a slightly more boring way. And you know what? I don't even blame the game devs for it, because most people would choose to play the boring way, or most people will choose to play the way where they just kill everyone, because that's just the gamer instinct. You know, us gamers, we've been taught to just kill shit on sight. And B, it's really hard to come up with cool weapon designs, and not even weapons, just cool abilities and just cool things to do, like that are peaceful. Like, I mean, there's tranquilizers, putting people to sleep instead of knocking them out, which is like kind of the same thing. And I mean, like, you can like become invisible maybe, and like, you know what I mean? Like, how many cool features can you come up with compared to offensive shit? Offensive as in like, you know, like killing people and like fighting people, not you know what I mean?
And I know it's not a huge thing, but having characters go from complete sweethearts to absolutely despising your guts just for assassinating the fucking assassination targets.
Okay, no, that's stupid. That is, I agree. That is stupid as fuck. I think if you just kill everyone you run across, that should 100% happen. But there needs to be a maybe the line they chose that chooses how do I put this? The line that you have to cross that defines whether you did a playthrough as a good person or a bad person. That one's too leaning towards making you a bad person for doing relatively good person things. You know what I mean?
It's a guilt trip that no one asked for. It makes zero sense.
And you, out, Corvo.
That's crazy that you can do this shit.
The gameplay was
that's actually insane. Like, that's actually fucking wild that you could just kill people.
Decided to spawn in the ethics, ended up leaving most of the non-lethal options towards the wayside because there wasn't a consequence for having a higher body count. So now the game is incentivizing you to choke out your enemies and wait for them to pass out instead of just and moving on.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
The game does give you the option to use the Cardi B sleep darts, but when you have an entire hand dedicated to holding a sword, I should be able to use it. Especially when the sword play is actually this solid. A game should never shame you for playing it the way it's clearly designed to be played. But the weird thing is, they didn't need to do it. If you slow down your approach, there's interesting collectible sequences, lore, and upgrades that all give you a solid reason to play the game multiple times through to experience everything it has to offer.
Exactly.
Because I swear to God, the only thing here better than the gameplay is the level design. The map and level design.
It looked good so far from just the footage he's shown. My mind has been blown watching the entire video so far. Like, this is actually crazy.
This fucking poetry. Each chapter of the game drops you off into a different section of Dunwall, which takes the form of these mini open-world bite-sized areas that are independent from all the others. It is insane how deliberately handcrafted and densely packed each location is, while still giving you so many options to sneak around. Most linear stealth action games would just give you like a front door and a ladder hidden behind a bush to make you feel smart as like an alternative sneaky option. Or they go so open world that it ends up just being kind of janky and unstructured, losing that polish that comes from a more refined, handcrafted experience.
So what this is a linear level, but it's not actually linear. It's a handcrafted, large level with lots of freedom of choice, which is extremely rare to see.
Take The Last of Us, for example. It's a brilliant stealth action game that has a beautifully detailed environment, but a lot of the stuff you're looking at is just visual noise.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, you're just walking down a defined path.
It doesn't have any gameplay purpose at all. And in some specific cases, it can actually detract from the game, because unless I'm in a fucking wheelchair, I should be able to climb a goddamn chain link.
Yeah, and that breaks the immersion completely. Like, this guy's trained. He's an apocalypse survivor. He's jacked. How is he not able to climb over a fence? Come on, man. There's not even like an electric gate. There's not like an electric wire or anything above it.
And it doesn't help the fact that when you can interact with the game's world, it comes in the form of conveniently chest-high cover and, oh hey, look, a ladder behind a bush. Still a great game. Do not get me wrong on that.
The gameplay is mid though, let's be honest. Like the biggest attraction of Last of Us is just tinnitus, okay? Is just the story. Like, gameplay is just alright.
But in Dishonored, every single structure in the game is a potential tool for the player, and when you combine that with its limited size, it creates an incredibly memorable experience, all the way from the rooftops to the sewers. I think the best example of this absolutely based level design is put on display here on Lady Boyle's party. The mission here is simple. We have to take out Lady Boyle, who's one of 3 twin sisters that are bankrolling the big bad government.
And you don't know which one it is. That's also a cool idea. That's the shit you see in films and stories and shit, but not in an interactable game.
She's throwing a giant masquerade party.
And like, if you're going for the bad ending, you know, just kill all of them.
Party at her ball, and we've got just the mask to blend right in. You can even sign the guest book. The only thing is, you don't know which one of the 3 is the real Lady Boyle.
Yeah.
And the game randomizes it on each run. The place is crawling with overseers who, if provoked, can start playing some ice spikes to shut down your magic instantly. So it's gonna cost you heavy if you just want to aggro the place. So now it's up to you on how you
But you still can, right?
You want to play Clue to figure out which one of the Boyle sisters is the target. Do you court them individually to find out their secrets? Do you stealth around the forbidden upstairs to find clues and steal all their shit? Do you sneak around and find a way to kill all 3 of them while remaining undetected?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, that's so good.
Do you find some creep that's been stalking the real one? And
the game design is fucking banging.
Go in the cellar to take her as his personal you-know-what slave for the rest of time?
Oof.
Kind of a fucked up non-lethal option, but it's an option.
And it doesn't. It is technically non-lethal.
Point being, every step of these levels gives you the freedom to make your own choices, and whichever ones you pick, they always feel like the right one.
And I bet that makes you a good guy, right? Choosing that option, because you're not killing anyone, so that I bet that puts you on the good boy list. That's awesome.
Whether that's blowing up a brothel or exploiting this dude's kink to death or shooting whores, you're gonna have fun.
Don't attack me, I've saved us from temptation!
And that's before even mentioning the side quests. Unlike most open world games that just spam you with absolutely nothing jobs, Dishonored only gives 1 to 2 side quests per mission that typically play a much larger role in the course of the overall game. On the very first mission, you can sneak into a laboratory to locate an infected rat culture, to then infiltrate a mafia-owned bootleg plague elixir distillery to poison its workers, only to be hired by the boss in the very next mission to find out who did it. The game does make you a little overpowered, and to get a true experience, stealth or not, you need to play it on at least hard difficulty, which makes enemy swords and bullets actually work like them. But even the game kind of knew this, and after about 70% through, the game takes away all of your physical equipment once you're betrayed, and you have to make it all the way through the game's toughest region just to get it back.
Use your magic, right? That's so cool.
It's fucking brilliant. The DLC is no slouch either, letting you play as the Empress's assassin, Dowd, and experience his side of the story as he starts to entangle.
I mean, it sounds like good, but that's not the kind of shit I'd be interested in. I don't care about playing from the perspective of someone else. I am the guy that's been given god powers. I want to play with them.
Themselves with the to-be antagonists of Dishonored 2. But wait, there's more. They also created a whole new set of worlds and challenges purely for sport to let you test the limits of this game's skill ceiling in an environment that supports it like a training mode. I can talk for hours.
Kind of like, what's it called? What's the game called? I forgot. The one where Neon White.
This game, but I would genuinely never be able to upload this video. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out my back catalog. If you want to sponsor the channel, get your name up on the wall. I've got a Patreon for that, as well as a Discord.
I bet this guy works for 12 hours a day to make these happen. Please support him. Jesus Christ. Look, open the description. First link in it. Just click on it. It's his channel. If you haven't watched this video already, give it a watch. If you have, well, fucking watch it again. I don't know. Give him watch time. Okay, self-blogs are boring, so I'm not gonna do them. But I do have my own algorithm breaking strat, which is that I do really fucking obnoxious loud outros. If you don't want to see them, go click away right now. One of these two videos. That's your out. Okay, I'm doing the outro now in 3, 2. I'm doing it now. Okay. I don't actually want to do it. My throat hurts too much from screaming. But I hope everyone that was gonna click off has clicked off by now. Okay, well, bye.